and gardening forward. Let me go ahead and introduce Deshauna York, and you guys have probably all met her over the last 6 weeks. She's the director for UAF and the Cooperative Extension, and she's in Anchorage. She assists clients with finding their resources, and she does that within the university community as well as out with other organizations. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Deshauna York. Take it away, Deshauna.
Thank you, Terry. It's been a pleasure doing this series with you. It's been great. And I think we've had some really good engagement and it's been great. So yes, as Terry said, we're here for our last installment of this From the Ground Up series. Tonight's title is Conservation Programs and Other Resources that Benefit Producers. And we have two amazing resource experts this evening from the Natural Resource Conservation Service and also the Farm Service Agency. So we'll have two guest speakers this evening. We're going to start with Erin Sturdivant, who's with she is the Agriculture Program Manager for Alaska Farm Service Agency, working for USDA. She's been there about 13 years now. She grew up in Nebraska on a dryland wheat farm and attended the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. She can do a little wave there. Her and her family moved to Alaska 12 years ago. They live in the Palmer area and enjoy spending time outdoors and being involved in the community as well as 4-H. So she's going to start us off this evening. And our second presenter is Amanda Crowe. She can give a quick wave. She's the Assistant State Conservationist for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Amanda helps Alaska NRCS implement Food Security Act and the Farm Bill programs in an effort to accomplish their mission of helping people help the land. Prior to moving to Alaska in 2017, Amanda worked for NRCS in North Dakota and Wisconsin, where her favorite projects were locally led initiatives working directly with partners from the community. Amanda holds a BS in Soil and Land Management from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, and a MS in Biological Systems Engineering from the University of Wisconsin in Madison. So I'm so pleased to have both of you here with us this evening. Erin, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, that would be great, and we can get started. I will be putting resources in the chat as we have been along the way. If anyone has any questions, also please feel free to put those in the chat, and we will have time in between presenters and at the end, as we've been doing, for your questions. All right, so with that, Erin, we look forward to hearing from you. And you're muted, I think.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, okay. We got it. Thank you.
Okay, yep, thanks, Deshauna. Yep, so like Deshauna said, thanks for the introduction. I'm Erin Sturdivant, the Agricultural Program Manager for FSA here in Alaska. And I'll just be talking to you a little bit about getting started with FSA. Maybe. Oh.
There you go.
Sorry about that. So at USDA, there's a place for everyone. We like to make sure that we know, hopefully we can serve a lot of different producers. As the face of agriculture is changing, USDA is leveraging its footprints to meet the needs of all of our producers. Realizing that USDA website can be a bit overwhelming when trying to do your own research. We're hopeful that this presentation will help you understand how to get connected with staff and begin working with the various agencies. Beginning farmers and ranchers are very much needed as the average age of the farmer continues to rise. USDA is striving to support this group of new farmers and ranchers, and we invite you to join us on this journey. So you can certainly visit farmers.gov/new farmers to get some more information when you have the chance. So who is a beginning farmer or rancher? So these designations define rules for participating in our programs, as well as priority and designated funding for different USDA programs. Some agencies have a slightly different definition of beginning farmer. or prioritize funds differently. For example, NRCS, and Amanda will cover this. Some of their programs don't give women extra weight in terms of competing for funding, but they do for beginning farmers. So socially disadvantaged or historically underserved, or SDA would all be different terms that you would perhaps hear FSA using. So it's defined by law. An SDA applicant is one who is a member of a socially disadvantaged group. Those groups have been subject to racial, ethnic, or gender prejudice because of their identity as a member of a group without regard to their individual qualities. So SDA groups for FSA terms are African Americans, American Indians, Alaska Natives, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and women. Veteran farmers or ranchers, our definition is a farmer or rancher who has served in the armed forces during the most recent 10-year period. For entities requesting to be considered as a veteran farmer or rancher, at least 50% of the interest must be held by the veteran farmer or rancher. So across FSA nationwide, there are over 2,100 county offices across the nation, with every county being serviced by a USDA service center. You can find those service centers on the website. You can also look for our state beginning farmer rancher coordinators at that farmers.gov/newfarmers/coordinators. And Amanda and I are both part of that beginning farmer rancher program in Alaska. So we would both be good contacts for that. So it's helpful to be prepared for your first visit. During the time of the pandemic, we've had to conduct business remotely via phone or email due to in-person visits being prohibited for safety of our customers and employees. So we are asking that you call and contact and make an appointment before you stop by an office, just to make sure that you are prepared, and office is prepared, and we can make sure that we have staff available to assist you. Once you've provided your personal information, we'll get you enrolled in the system, and your property will be identified and delineated through our system using aerial photography, and it will be assigned a farm serial number or a farm number. This number is important for participating in USDA programs, as well as other state and county programs administered by USDA stakeholders. So it's great to receive emails also, so you can sign up for Gov Delivery. And that is something that can be done while you sign up with FSA with the initial paperwork. So programs that FSA offers, we have two major categories. We have our farm programs, and we also have our farm loan programs. So farm programs include disaster assistance and can help farmers recover during natural disasters or when there are serious economic disruptions, such as our current pandemic. There's conservation programs that we have available. We have safety net programs, risk management programs, and then our farm loan programs. So FSA has a variety of loan programs to meet different types of needs, whether it be for an improvement project, expanding an enterprise, getting started, or purchasing a farm. We can certainly discuss what you have in mind, and you can certainly contact myself or other FSA personnel after this presentation. Let's see. So a little more about our FSA farm programs. We do encourage our producers to annually file their crop acreage report by July 15th. Having those acreage reports is important for participation in other programs, such as NAP, which covers non-insurable crops. There's also ELAP, which is Emergency Livestock Assistance Program, or the Livestock Indemnity Program, excuse me. We also have a livestock forage program and an emergency conservation program. Another program under our farm program side is our farm storage facility loan. It is for low interest financing to assist with purchasing and or construction of storage facilities such as grain or hay storage, but also purchasing of equipment for cold storage units and cold transporting units can also be options as well. We put a lot of emphasis on FSA farm loan programs, and this is simply because these programs play a huge role in helping beginning farmers. FSA is the lender of first opportunity. FSA works one-on-one with an applicant to determine credit worthiness, ability to repay, evaluate the farm business, and supervises them through the loan process. Applicants and borrowers maintain good and frequent communication with their FSA farm loan officer or the farm loan team, depending on the office. Your loan officer will work to create the best solution for you in terms of repayment or payment schedules, accountability, loan terms, and disbursement of funds. Staff can provide the technical assistance and can answer questions, but it is important to understand that the borrower is ultimately responsible for the success of their operation. FSA staff will work with you in filling out your application during the application process. Please take advantage of their assistance when applying for a loan, but be realistic and honest and detailed in your description of your experience, both personal and farm, your finances, and your business plan that you are presenting for your application. Decisions are made based on that information you provide, so it is important that it be accurate. Many loan officers will recommend starting small and scaling up your operation. Operating loans under our farm loan program. So operating loans can be repaid in 1 to 7 years, depending on the life of the security and the type of loan it is. Items that are used within 1 year, such as feed, land rent, or seed, those would be a 1-year annual operating loan. If they are equipment or longer security items, then we can turn those up to 7 years. The limit for operating loans is $400,000. Our farm ownership loans, these can be used for purchasing of land, capital improvements, conservation, and they can also go towards your loan closing and other related expenses. Our farm ownership loans can be repaid in up to 40-year increments with the loan limit of $600,000. We also have our microloan program that's limited to $50,000. It is a simpler and shorter application process. They can be used for both ownership and operating loans. For the operating loans, it is still 1 to 7 years, depending on the security. Repayment of the farm ownership loans are up to 25 years though. We have a guaranteed loan program, which you actually would talk to a lender and then a commercial lender in your area. That lender actually becomes the FSA customer, in where you as the borrower or the producer are actually working with that lender. The 2018 Farm Bill increased the loan guarantee for beginning and underserved farmers from 90 to 95%. That is a benefit also for those guaranteed commercial lenders. Our down payment loan, it's a great program designed to help beginning, veteran, and SDA farmers. The terms are a bit different from our direct farm ownership loan program. There is a 5% minimum down payment required by the producer or the applicant. FSA's portion of the loan has an interest rate of 1.5%. Maximum loan amount is the $300,150 with a maximum term of 20 years as opposed to the 40. FSA finances 45% of the loan, and the remaining 50% is covered by a commercial lender. And that could be amortized up to a minimum 30 years. So the interest rate with that lender is negotiated through the lender. So FSA is under the USDA umbrella. So there are other agencies under USDA that we do work alongside of, which includes NRCS, but I'll let Amanda talk to you more about that. RMA, which is the Risk Management Agency. They are also another agency under our USDA umbrella. They ensure that farmers and ranchers have resources available in their local areas. We often think that insurance policies are money wasted and not necessary. Unfortunately, that isn't true. Every effort should be put forth in managing your risk within your farm operation. There are 5 basic sources of agricultural risk: production, marketing, financial, legal, environmental, human resources. Certainly check out the RMA's website for locating an agent that serves your area. Rural development. They are also a USDA agency. They offer direct and guaranteed loans. However, they provide funds to build or construct homes in rural areas as well as businesses. A couple of the most popular programs among farmers and ranchers, though, that RD does offer is the Value Added Producer Grant and the Rural Energy for America program. That program is a competitive grant program that's available to producers who are adding value to their products, such as growing tomatoes to make salsa, grapes for wine, or berries for jam. They also have a program called REAP. It's a grant or loan program that assists producers in making energy improvements such as geothermal heating and cooling, LED lighting, and other examples. It is not designed to assist with new installation, but rather to make improvements. Agricultural Marketing Service is another USDA agency. They provide local food and farmer market promotion grant funds for the development of local markets. They also have price report data, and many other resources are available online. Many times the State Department of Agriculture administers programs on behalf of AMS. So contacting the Division of Ag, Alaska Division of Ag, to see what kind of programs that they have available through AMS. So building a network and having your resources, make sure you surround yourself as a new beginning farmer. So you have people to glean information from, and also to perhaps share your own information. So this is just a short list of possible resources to have in your book for getting started with agriculture in Alaska. So with that concludes my presentation, so I can answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Erin. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Does anyone have any questions for Erin at this time? Great list of resources there. Great.
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, I guess we can kind of keep moving here and see if folks have questions as we continue to move forward. Thank you for that. That was great.
Thank you.
Is there I was looking, is there a comprehensive, the programs that you went over and the different financing, I was looking, is there an actual website that lists each of those? Or is it kind of, it's kind of call and get the info?
Certainly call so you can get specific info. We can work with you to find out what you are doing or what your hope is to do, so we can kind of steer you in the right direction, what programs fit towards that. But you can certainly go to usda.fsa.gov. So.
Gotcha.
Or
and
the farmer or farmers.gov.
Okay. And I put that in the chat, so
Yeah,
great.
perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much for that. So Amanda, if you want to go ahead and share, there she is. Great. We can hear you.
All right, I'll turn my video on for just a minute here. So thank you all for attending today. My name is Amanda Crowe, and I work with the sister agency, the Farm Service Agency. So I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and essentially I'm our counterpart to Erin. So while she manages programs for FSA, I'm helping manage programs for NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service. So shut my video off to save a little bandwidth. Get started. So Erin shared a lot of agencies that work under the USDA. We are just another agency that helps people help the land. We're helping folks on private land improve their natural resources, and we are non-regulatory. So we work with people who want to work with us. And we originally got started in response to the Dust Bowl. So in the 30s, we had massive erosion occurring in the plain states, and Congress decided they needed to do something about it. We needed to preserve the soil for the sake of agriculture. We became the Soil Conservation Service and now the NRCS. And we have a strong history of working with partners, including your local soil and water conservation districts. So I just want to get started by being on the same page because like most government agencies, we have our own language. And so NRCS helps people help the land. And we do that by working with people who manage private lands for food or fiber, including subsistence uses. So we refer to folks as farmers, ranchers, agricultural producers, but these folks may not identify as that. You know, folks that we work with might identify as a small scale grower, a producer, a gardener, a grain farmer, a herder, a resource manager, or a forest manager. And so I encourage you that if you are managing food or fiber, to think about if you could work with us to improve the resources on the land that you're managing. So we work with who I'm going to call farmers and ranchers throughout the presentation today to provide free advice, what we call technical assistance. And it's often done by walking the land with the person who's managing it, asking what the goals are, and assessing the resources, including the soil, water, plants, and if there's any animal resources. We'll be able to identify areas that can be improved and then determine what we call conservation practices that can help improve those resources. So I just want to share a few examples of what that could look like here in Alaska. So we could be addressing a water or soil quantity issue on cropland, and that cropland might be a really small area near a house. It might be a large carrot or cabbage field. We improve range for grazing livestock, which could be cattle, reindeer, bison, elk. We work in the tundra where sensitive habitat for rare species is being destroyed, working with subsistence land managers so hunting and gathering can be sustained, as well as improving aquatic habitat, such as replacing a culvert so that salmon can continue to their spawning grounds. We also work with non-industrial private forest lands to improve managed forests. So that can include doing a forest stand improvement, creating a fuel break, or doing loose habitat. So you could think of it as we work on private forest lands, the U.S. Forest Service works on public lands. So again, we are non-regulatory, it's completely voluntary, and there's no minimum or maximum land size. So if you're doing food or fiber in your backyard, or if you have hundreds of thousands of acres, we want to work with you to achieve your goals while conserving, protecting, enhancing the natural resources. So we provide on-site consultations. We have a diverse staff spread throughout 6 field offices across Alaska, which includes foresters, biologists, soil scientists, agronomists, engineers, and these folks come out to your land, walk the property with you, do inventory and evaluations, and determine what we call resource concerns are occurring on the land. So this is essentially what areas could we improve so that your goals, which might include better production or natural resource goals, such as soil not leaving the field, can be obtained. And then once we identify those resource concerns, we recommend what we call conservation practices to help improve the resources. So some examples, we can install constructing paths to facilitate the movement of animals, people, off-road vehicles. So for example, this can reduce soil erosion caused by ATV use for subsistence hunting and gathering while protecting ecologically sensitive nesting bird habitat. We do a lot of forest health improvement in Alaska. So this example is forest stand improvement, where we can manipulate the tree composition and structure by cutting selected trees and working with the understory vegetation. So this promotes a healthy timber growth. We can also do tree and shrub establishment, or we can help create conditions that promote natural regeneration. And we can also install fuel breaks to protect conservation practices within the forest. So we don't install fuel breaks to protect towns or homes or infrastructure, but we can do fuel breaks to protect the conservation work that's already being done in a forest. We design and install irrigation systems, which could include tanks for water storage, pipelines, and the emitters, essentially all the supporting infrastructure to promote healthy water use and efficiency. So along with that comes our irrigation water management practice, where we're working with the manager to time and regulate the irrigation water applications in a way that gets the needs of the crop satisfied without using excess water or having soil or nutrients leave the site. We install high tunnels, which is an enclosed structure used to protect crops from sun, wind. Down in Southeast Alaska, we use these to protect the crops from excessive rainfall, and they can be used to extend the growing season. We can do conservation crop rotation, where we're growing different crops on the same piece of land year after year, so that we have the sequence of moving crops around, helping to promote healthy soils, reducing erosion. We can do nutrient management, where we're managing the amount, the source, the placement, the timing of plant nutrients and soil amendments, such as a fertilizer. And then we can also do cover crops. So this could mean maybe some small grains or legumes. In Alaska, we're primarily using these for seasonal protection of the soil. So instead of leaving the soil bare, we can have cover crops to reduce the erosion, or maybe improve soil organic matter, water infiltration. So these are just some of the conservation practices to give you an idea of what might be recommended on your land. But we have many more to choose from. So after one of our soil conservationists or technical experts have been out to your farm, they've walked it over, they've identified resource concerns, they've recommended some conservation practices, they'll ask you what you want to do. And once you decide, we'll put that into a written format. So that's called our conservation plan. And it's just a written record of everything that's happened and the conversations we've had so far and the choices that you've made as a land manager. So what practices do you want to install and when do you want to install them on your land? And there's no charge for this. This is all free technical assistance that we offer. So just a little recap of where we're at so far. Someone's been out to the farm. We've done some inventory, maybe right on site. We've done some soil tests. Maybe we collected some data, brought it back to the office and ran some evaluations or computer models. And then we've developed this written conservation plan, which you as a land manager have decided what you want to do on your farm. So the next big thing that folks think about is, well, how am I going to install these conservation practices? These cost money. And so that's where we have some financial assistance programs to assist with. So the next set of steps walks you through that side of things. So essentially, it's ensuring that you submit a program application and your eligibility is up to date with both Farm Service Agency and ourselves. Once eligibility has been established, we go through what's called a ranking process. Essentially, this is where we put similar applications together so that we can evaluate these applications as close to apples as possible. Because in most states, there's not enough money for all the applications that come in. So the points that, or the applications that rank higher would get funded first. In Alaska, that is true some years, but there's also a lot of years where we're able to fund all of our applications. So we never know until we're in that year, of course. And then once it's ranked and we determined who we can fund, we move forward and we develop a contract. So our financial assistance programs are not grants, they are actually a contract with the federal government. So I want to touch on 3 financial assistance programs with you today. The first one is what we call EQIP, Environmental Quality Incentives Program. It is by far our most popular financial assistance program here in Alaska because it's fairly easy to apply and to work through this program on your land. So you can choose to include just a small part of your farm or just a couple conservation practices, or you could include your entire farm and all the practices that are suggested by our conservation soil conservationists. We also offer a higher incentive payment rate for historically underserved. So as Erin mentioned, we have socially disadvantaged, we have beginning farmers, folks that qualify as historically underserved get a little bit more assistance. So some of the top practices, if we look at just how many times we contract these in Alaska, I'm showing data from 2020, but this is fairly representative of the last few years in Alaska. So we do a lot of forestry and improvement and a lot of cropland practices, including practices that can be done in high tunnels, such as nutrient management, crop rotation, irrigation, water management, and of course you see the high tunnel practice as well. If we look at how much we spend on a dollar amount, our forestry practices definitely win that race. But we also have a lot of rangeland and pasture practices that come into play here as well, with fencing and planting. Our aquatic organism passage, where we're mostly looking at improving salmon habitat, ranks up there high, as few as some other practices. And again, you see our high tunnel system also makes our top 10 list by the amount of dollars that we spend in this program here in Alaska. So our budget varies each year, but the last few years we've been spending between $7 to almost $11 million getting conservation on the land through this program. And historically, we've spent between 2 to 35% of our budget for beginning farmers. So these are those folks that have been farming or ranching less than 10 years. We automatically set aside 5% of our budget for beginning farmer and ranchers. And then oftentimes we'll be able to fund even more than 5%. So if this program looks interesting to you at all, I have a great resource for you. And I believe we can drop the handout into the chat as well as the link to where you can find a lot of our resources. But we have a whole booklet on how this program works. It walks you through eligibility, getting your conservation plan, which is the first step. And then after your conservation plan is in place, how you would apply for assistance and the application ranking and signing a contract. So I really encourage you to check out that resource if this program interests you. And then I'm going to shift gears to our conservation stewardship program. So this program is a little bit higher level than our EQIP program. So it's designed to reward producers who are already doing conservation and wanting to take their stewardship to a higher level. So with a little bit higher level of the program, it really suits folks who already have a conservation plan in place or maybe have already done some work in the EQIP program, but that is not a requirement. It does require you to look at your entire operation and include the entire operation into your application. You can't just choose one field to work on. You have to look at all the land that you manage. And it is a 5-year contract. So you receive payments to help you maintain your current conservation, but you also get some payments to install new conservation practices or enhancements that you do on your property. So the CSP rules have changed a lot over the years, and for a short time, there's a very large financial incentive for forestry land. So you see in 2015, we spent almost $2 million in this program. And then we didn't have a lot of interest in this program until recently again. And we're really trying to make an effort to promote this program and encourage land managers who already have a strong conservation history to consider it. So we also have a great CSP resource for you. We have a shorter booklet than the EQIP booklet, but it walks you through thinking about if CSP might be a program that would be good for you. So I encourage you to check this out as well if you're already working on a conservation plan. And then I'm going to shift gears a little bit to talk about easements. So what we have talked about so far with EQIP and with CSP are programs to improve the land, working land that's actively being farmed or ranched or have subsistence uses on it, and improving the resources by installing conservation practices. Easements are a little different than that because it's actually keeping the land in this case, our agricultural land easements is protecting this land from conversion to a non-ag use. And then in a minute, I'll talk about wetland easements as well. So basically, this is a conservation easement, which is permanent. The easement is granted to an entity such as a land trust or public agency. So in Alaska, we work with a lot of land trusts, and they will work with you as the applicant to fill out eligibility documents, the application for funding. They help manage the acquisition process through the whole real estate transaction. And essentially what happens is the value of this ag conservation easement is generally the fair market value of the property minus that restricted value, the ability not to be able to have non-ag uses such as building a house or a subdivision, that sort of thing. So the landowner has the ability to either sell the easement to us or they can donate their easement. We pay 50% of the easement value. And then what happens is there's a deed restriction that's placed on the property to protect agricultural, natural resources, and open space from future development. So there are limitations of what can be built on the property and where, and we limit the non-farm development, such as a subdivision or other uses that wouldn't be consistent with agriculture. You do retain the title to the property. You can restrict public access. This is still your farm or your ranch. You can use this property as collateral for a loan. You can sell the property. The easement comes with that, of course. And you continue to be eligible for state and federal farm programs. So one thing that's really great about these easements is from the sale of the easement, you can actually invest that money back into your operation. So if you donate the easement, you can treat it as a charitable gift, and there's an income tax deduction. The other easement program that we have is called the Wetland Reserve Easement. And the primary purpose of this is to restore farmed wetlands or converted wetlands or wetlands that are impacted by agricultural operations. And there's also a little clause in there that allows us to work with some riparian areas, provided they meet all the criteria. So in this case, we hold the easement. We don't work with a land trust. And there are a few options to this. There's the perpetual easement, where we would pay the 100% of the easement value and full restoration costs. So for example, if you had a farmed wetland, we would pay to restore that wetland. We have a 30-year easement option where we pay 75% of the easement value, but we are not able to pay the full restoration costs. And for Indian tribes, we can do a 30-year contract. So restrictions would be, of course, no subdivision, commercial building, or motorized activity, but you can hunt, fish, berry pick, or walk, of course, through this easement. The payment is a per acre payment limit for Alaska is set at $5,200 per acre. So it would be easement value or $5,200 per acre at the max. So just a few stats on where we are at with easements in Alaska. We have a total of 750 easement acres in both the ag land easement and the wetland easement, spread out of 17 contracts. We're currently in process of getting 120 more acres in easement. And on the Kenai Peninsula, we have 165 acres in easements. And these range from less than an acre up to 96 acres in size for a single easement. So we have a lot of resources available on our website. And then again, at this fact sheet link as well. So I encourage you, if anything I said today looks interesting, I have a welcome pack for new customers available, which includes that How EQIP Works booklet and several other fact sheets. If you are really interested in high tunnels, we have a packet designed just for folks who are really interested in high tunnels and many more. If you heard a lot of words come out my mouth, but weren't quite sure which program is right for you, we have this crosswalk, which includes the programs I mentioned. It includes a couple more as well. And so this is a great place to just compare our financial assistance programs that we offer here in Alaska. So I would give you my contact information, but what I normally do if someone calls and they have a question about wanting a program for their land is I send them to our field offices, because these are the folks that you are going to work with to have come out on your land, help develop that conservation program, conservation plan, and then look at the financial assistance program. So I really encourage you to contact your field office directly. And we have 3 down in the Kenai Peninsula, Kenai, Homer, we have 1 out in Kodiak. And for folks tuning in elsewhere, we do have 6 offices total spread across the state. So if you're not sure which office you should call, go ahead and just call the Kenai office. That is our main office for the Kenai Peninsula. And they will set you up with a conservation planner who will come out and walk your property with you. So I wanted to give you one more, or actually a couple more slides. So one is this. We have a new Office of Urban Ag and Innovative Production, and they're able to do some things that FSA and NRCS can't do. So they do offer competitive grants, which include some startup costs, more food access type of opportunities, and then they also offer some competitive agreements. So I encourage you to check out, Google the Office of Urban Ag and find out what opportunities there might be there for you. And then this slide is specifically for our partners, because I know we have a lot of partners that help to bring from the ground up together. And we have a special program specifically for our partners. It's called the Regional Conservation Partnership Program. It is a watershed scale program. So big picture, It promotes coordination of NRCS conservation activities, such as the conservation practices that I shared with you today, through the programs I mentioned today, like EQIP, CSP, or easements. And then it adds partner contributions to expand our ability to address these resource concerns on a large geographic scale. So essentially, we co-invest with our partners to implement projects on private lands over a large area. And these projects are impactful. They address natural resources challenges. There's a really strong partnership contribution, and they're usually innovative in some way. So if that sounds exciting to you, partners, please reach out to our RCPP coordinator, Jackie Kriegel, or of course you can get in touch with me as well. So with that, you'll be getting a class evaluation after this. And so I really encourage you to give us some feedback and let us know how we can continue to provide you resources that are useful for your farming and ranching needs. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Amanda. Amazing. Lots of great information. Thank you for sharing the link for the evaluation. I just put it in the chat as well. I have a typo on the title for the innovation production, but I have the link there. So put a lot of resources in the chat. I'm not seeing a lot of questions. I don't know if anyone has any questions. People can also come on their mic and ask if they'd like. I was going to ask, can you, Amanda, for the high tunnel system, it seems like I remember a time when it was all the hype and it was new. How long has the high tunnel program been around?
Oh gosh. So
Long time?
We don't have a specific high tunnel program, but we do offer it as a practice in our EQIP program. And so that conservation practice has probably been around for about 10 years is my guess, at least. But yeah, we've had a lot of success here in Alaska, and especially on the Kenai Peninsula.
Very cool. Yeah, sorry. So it's not, sorry, you're right. It's not really a program. I know everyone talks about like the high tunnel thing, you know, everyone talks about it, so, but it's part of your EQIP. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I was going to ask, so the Office of Urban Ag and Innovation Production, so is it directly with, shared the site, and I did do a search too. That's dealing directly with someone, are they out of state, or does that go funnel through your office? Do you collaborate and work on that too, or how does that work?
So it's a brand new office within USDA. NRCS is the caretaker of the office, but it's really managed at a higher level, Washington, DC level. So locally or here in Alaska, we don't have any direct connection, I would say.
Okay. But if people had questions about that, could they also ask you or your office about those, or is it really call the office directly and that's?
I would say if it's specific, especially about one of their grants or agreements, you know, they should really contact them because we won't have any information. But as Erin shared, both Erin and I are beginning farmer coordinators, and we're certainly happy to direct folks to resources, including that office.
Gotcha. Yeah, great. Yeah, I was just thinking in case someone, if they can't get a response or something, you know, calling local or in the States, always nice. Let's see, are there deadline dates for applying for these grant opportunities?
Typically, like with the Office of Urban Ag, I'm sure there's going to be some deadlines associated with their grants. With our financial assistance programs that we offer within NRCS, we typically have application deadlines or what we'll call batching deadlines. So for example, with our EQIP program, we batch applications, meaning that all of the completed applications that are fully eligible and have a conservation plan and all the assessment work is done, all that upfront work, that planning work is done, we will take that complete package, and on a certain date, we will say, okay, what ranked out the highest, and start to fund those. And this year we are doing that 4 different times. So, but to meet one of those deadlines, of course, you have to have a conservation plan in place, which means having a conservation planner come out and walk over your farm. And if it's super snowy or icy, we won't be able to do the assessments. So Sometimes this takes a while, so I encourage you, if you're interested, call your office, let them know you're interested so that we can get out and work through the process as soon as possible. Some of our other
Gotcha.
programs, like the CSP program I mentioned, or the easement programs, we have what's an actual application deadline. So, but all that information is posted on our website.
Okay, great, thanks. Maureen, I see you have your hand up.
Hi, yeah, I have a couple questions. So are all these programs geared for production and marketing, or if you just have, let's say, a 1 acre lot and you want to maximize conservation, grow food, protect your trees from, falling down or whatever, make them more healthy. Is that part of this KIP program, or, I mean, is that part of the program, or is that not part of the program?
Yes. So we work with people who manage food and fiber. So including folks who just have these backyard gardens to people who have thousands, hundreds of acres. We work with all sizes. So if you're working with food or fiber, we definitely want to work with you. And oftentimes our goals are going to kind of interrelate, right? So you might have some production goals. Our agency is really focused on utilizing the tax dollar to improve natural resources. So as long as our goals can interweave together, we'd like to work with you to find a way that we can do that. So absolutely.
Okay. And then I have one other question. So I just received a micro grant. I have a 1 acre lot in West Anchorage, and a lot of it's wooded, some of it's converted over to a farm. I have a high tunnel, and then just some general perennial beds and things like that. But I really would like to maximize the usage of the forested areas or the treed areas. And so that would be one goal. But I mean, working with that micro grant's called regenerative agriculture, small fruits and berries. So that was the goal of the grant, is to improve soil capacity, nutrition, everything, in order to grow more small fruits and berries. And so that was just awarded in February. So I mean, really haven't gotten too far on it yet. But so I'm thinking maybe combining that with the conservation plan might be a good way to help me even narrow that down more. Or does that make any sense? Am I making it?
Absolutely. We would love to come out and look at your property and see what you're doing. And it's always a two-way street. We're always learning from the folks who are actually doing the work. And then we're hoping to share our knowledge with you as well. So it sounds like a great place to come for a visit.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I guess one question I was going to ask for Erin and Amanda is kind of, maybe start with you, Amanda, on the programs and the application deadlines, like Terry was asking the question. How far in advance should people start planning for that? You're doing your 4 batches a year. I'm assuming they're probably on some kind of quarter basis or something like that. Knowing that you need to have, some things in order, is it kind of like get started ASAP is basically the answer? To get somebody out to come out to make appointments so that people can give you feedback on the soil and the, wooded areas, those types of things.
Absolutely. I mean, we all know we have such a short growing season here. So making sure the field office knows that you're interested so they can schedule time for you when the growing season is here to come out and look at your property. Yeah, the sooner we know, we want to get you on our list. Gotcha.
And Erin, I was going to kind of ask you the same thing as far as lead time for funding for FSA. Do you have some recommendations on that? I mean, it's always like get on it sooner than later, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially if you're wanting to, if you foresee wanting to start a project, getting in and talking to us as soon as possible about that, so we can get your paperwork started. And then especially if you want to look at our loan program, working with us and getting that process started also, so we can, as part of the loan program, we want to make sure that there is an environmental evaluation, preliminary environmental evaluation completed, especially if you're looking at breaking any type of ground, new ground or
Gotcha.
anything like that. So definitely sooner the better.
And I assume with you, Erin, that, on the financial side, it's going to be kind of some of the standard things is there a list of things that you would suggest people, is that somewhere that people put together and bring to you when they come for a consult? I don't know, like, income document, information such as that to save time.
Yeah, so if I would do an initial call to FSA, kind of get an idea of, so FSA has an idea of what you're wanting to do. And then we can certainly, I have a kind of a packet per se, with a list of all the items that are part of a required application. So it gives you an idea. So then
Great.
you can start working towards that, and you'll be ready to submit your application once you have it all gathered up.
Gotcha. Great. Probably the same for you, Amanda. Information of things in addition, make an appointment and then go from there with the steps of things to collect to get you qualified. Great. Cool. Well, lots of resources, amazing information. Thank you both. Is there any other questions? Any at all? We're kind of done early tonight. Look at that. In our finale session, Terry, we're done early.
I have one more question.
Oh, yeah, feel free, please do.
To both of you, Erin and Amanda, have either one of you heard of people doing biochar projects under this program?
So there's,
I have not,
Okay.
but go ahead, Amanda.
we have some conservation practices that might be able to help with biochar. And there's also something that I didn't talk about today, but it's a conservation innovation grant that's currently open right now. And maybe that could fit into that program. And that is through NRCS. So if you go to grants.gov and search, hopefully you'll be able to find it, or reach out to me if you need a link as well.
Okay, thanks.
I'll put the link in the chat for there's information on it. I don't see the deadline on here, but this is some information. Yeah, cool. So any other questions? Thank you both. It's an amazing amount of information. It's great. So as Amanda mentioned at the end here, we have the evaluation in the chat. We appreciate your feedback. So not only on tonight's session, but as we've asked each week on the whole series, so that we have information from you on whether it was useful, things that we could include or change in the future, some things we might have missed. Thank you, Erin, for putting your information in the chat there. I also wanted to mention before we wrap up this evening that we've had an enormous amount of requests for folks to view the recordings longer than the time that's usually allotted. That's a system situation. So everyone should have received an email after each week about each session for a recorded review of the session that is good for 7 days. So what we're doing, because we've had a lot of requests to extend that, is we are providing all the sessions on a YouTube site. So I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. There's probably a 2 or 3, I think there's about 3 sessions that have not been uploaded to that site yet, because we're uploading those as we speak, and including this evening's presentations. So if you want to check that out, feel free. We will also be sending out this link to the whole list of folks that registered. So you'll have access to those sessions for about the month of March. So we'll go ahead and put that out so that folks can go ahead and take that, you share that link and check that out as well. So all the registrants will be getting that particular link, and then those sessions will be available. So all 7 will be there for you to go back and review or gather other information from those if you need any information you might have missed. So it's been a pleasure, Terry. It's been great to provide this information. It's been a great series. I think we've covered a lot of topics, including, all the programs today, but, cover crops, biochar, lots of information about soil nutrients. And so it's been really great. Any last questions for Amanda or Erin?
I just have one last question. This is Maureen
Great.
again. I was
Yeah,
just
feel
looking,
free.
I looked at that link you sent on the innovation grant. and it's goes to like 2017. It doesn't look like it's very current. I don't know if it's still.
Oh,
Let me,
that's
if you-
interesting.
I know there's current information on our Alaska website, so I will get a link in there really quick here.
Okay, thanks.
Here, I'm gonna actually also put another one. I apologize for that. There's sometimes those links are, I didn't see the 2017 now that I'm looking closer. Check this one out, but Amanda may have something a little bit more, even more current. This is not necessarily Alaska specific that I just sent.
Okay.
Oh, good. Well, you're
Interesting.
gonna get plenty of information. If you click on the link I sent you, it'll take you to our Alaska page, which the national page has great resources. So please also visit that. But the Alaska page will give you a link to the actual funding announcement. And then on March 11th, I'll be hosting, along with a couple other of my peers, a webinar to talk a little bit more about what it is to apply and have a conservation innovation grant. So that can be a resource for you as well.
Yeah, because on your website that I also posted, there is a link there for events. Is your webinar listed there? Probably is.
It's definitely listed on the CIG webpage.
Great. And that was, what was the date? Oh, March 11th. There it is. 2 o'clock. It's right on that page you provided. Great. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for all of your time, Amanda and Erin. It's been great. And folks, again, check out that link for recorded sessions for all of the series. And it's been a pleasure. Please give us feedback on the evaluation. And we will also be sending out a notice, as we've done after each of these tomorrow, with the recording link, but also an evaluation again. So please give us that feedback. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much. Have a good evening. Terry, any last words? Okay. All right. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks so much for participating. It's been a great series. We appreciate your involvement and interest.